Hey guys, this is a great opportunity, and I am so blessed with this opportunity to sit here and introduce the man himself, Craig the Sawman Sawyer. This guy is the founder for Veterans for Child Rescue, a huge nonprofit organization whose main mission to go out there is to spread knowledge and what's going on in the world right now that people are so blind and they don't see. The amazing thing about Craig is his background, former Navy SEAL sniper and United States Marine, which is so amazing. For all of you who know, I am Ryno Brandt, the CEO of 𝐕𝐞𝐭𝐞𝐫𝐚𝐧𝐬, and I'd like to introduce my partner, founder Kim Kelly.
Ryno and Kim, thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I appreciate anybody that helps expose this predatory crime spree on the most defenseless and innocent. It's really upsetting for anybody to learn about, and for me, having been a warrior and gone all over the globe, 60 countries now in all that I've been to. Some of those I've been through to dozens of times over the years for long periods of time, fighting for our defense and our freedom and liberty, and trying to keep any sort of nightmare from coming here to the United States. And to learn how bad it's been has been a very upsetting process for me. And I decided to fight back. So now I'm just a busted up father and veteran, but I'm not dead yet. So there's a lot that I can do, and I'm finding out what all I can do. And I appreciate people like you helping shine the light on it and standing up next to us and saying, okay, Craig, let's stand up next to you. Let's all fight for the little ones, because their children are worthy. They are worthy of our defense. So bless you guys for having me on.
Definitely. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. It's a conversation that needs to be had. Unfortunately, it's a conversation not a lot of people want to have. And we understand why. It's not a great topic. It's not warm and fuzzy for anybody. A lot of times when you mention the word child trafficking or child abuse, people kind of just freeze up and cower. And it's not an easy topic for people to understand or to explain. But at the same time, shining a light on it is raising people's awareness to the point where they recognize that this evil exists in our communities, in our backyards, to kids that we know right now are experiencing this. And the main thing that we want to do is let people know that there are so many ways to help. Easy ways you can get involved, you can volunteer, but there are things that every citizen can and should be doing to help and be a part of the solution. So some of the things we want to discuss today with you. So thank you again for being here, and thank you so much for what you guys do.
Yeah, man. Well, let's do it.
So Greg, I think one of the big things right now is understanding sex trafficking and our abduction of children. Can you lead us into that?
The first thing you need to understand is that it's complex. There's a lot of different ways that children are being harmed and sold, all the way from children selling themselves, oddly enough, to the global power brokers, the most wealthy and powerful elite, ordering children and moving them around the world for their entertainment and pleasure and sick fetishes and demonic abuse binges. So there's a wide scope of it, and we could spend all night just talking about all the different aspects of it. But on one end of it, you've got the elite like Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, flying children to islands and to mansions in New York City and Hollywood, Harvey Weinstein, all of these that capitalize on the little children, just exploit them and abuse them because they're in a position to. And involved in that with the elite as well are the political class and the high-ranking public figures who are blackmailed through that. They go to those islands and mansions and they get filmed doing God knows what with children and underage girls and boys, and then their lives don't belong to their constituents anymore, and their careers, it belongs to whoever's got the blackmail dirt on them. So that's why our politicians aren't serving us anymore. They're not following the items and the agenda that they ran on, the ticket that they ran on. They're doing the opposite. Why? Because someone else has caught them and blackmailed them with video like that. So that's a bad thing. And then there's organ harvesting, children being taken because some high-ranking crook somewhere needs a liver or a kidney. Yeah. And they could do that on the black market. That's a real problem. It sounds very dark and heinous, and it is, but it is a factual reality. There's Mexican drug cartels trafficking children, where they used to just traffic narcotics and weapons. Now it's children too. And MS-13 and gangbangers, local Crips and Bloods, now selling children. And meth addict parents or just derelict parents selling their own children, or even children learning that they can sell themselves. And so all of it's bad for the kids. And I think the more the populace understands about the nature of it, the more we can kind of stand up and counter the orchestrated agenda to normalize this type of abuse and tell us that it's somehow okay, that it's somehow normal and good. And I think we have to stick to our guns and our common sense and science that lets us know, that has demonstrated that the human brain is not fully developed, especially the outer cortex and frontal lobe, until the age of 23 to 25 years. So somebody under 23 to 25 years of age, their higher level of thinking and problem solving is not yet fully developed. And that's why a small child cannot advocate for themselves against a full-grown predatory adult, lusty adult that's a master at manipulating and scaring and tormenting children into getting what he or she wants from the child. The child has no chance. It's not fair, and it's not okay, and it'll never be normal. And we can't allow sick people, no matter how much money they have or how much political status or how much rank they have or what their title is, we cannot allow them to bully us and tell us that it's got to be accepted as normal and good. It's not normal and good. The Bible says it's an abomination. The Bible says it's better to have a large millstone tied around your neck and thrown into the sea than to defile one of the precious little children. That's pretty clear, guys. And it's common sense as well. Oh, we've all been children. None of us wanted to be raped, tortured to death, or murdered, or just horrifically abused and tormented when we were children. So why would we think that the next guys or girls would want that, right? They obviously don't want it. So it's not okay. They're human beings, and this is evil, what they're doing to them. So that's a lot of what's going on. And I'll just wrap up by saying, inside the United States, the overwhelming reports that we've gotten, and we're starting to investigate now, is that Child Protective Services, CPS, is a state-run organization. Some places they do great work, some places not so good. And in Arizona, they've got a horrible reputation for targeting single mothers, especially minority immigrant mothers who may be trying to work multiple jobs, take care of a couple of kids, and CPS can come in and say, that child looks a little dirty, maybe his nose is dirty, that child looks a little thin, we're deeming you an unfit mother. We're the authority, and we're taking your children. And the mother may not know what legal recourse she has, and she loses her children to these people who are the authority, and they take the child or children, and the mom never sees them again. In most cases, CPS has a cash incentive. They get a lot of money for taking a child from the biological parent or parents. There's no such incentive for reuniting them with their biological parents. There's a problematic dynamic there for anybody that's watching, but then the child goes to the foster care system from the biological parent and from household to household, family to family to family. Some families very loving, some very abusive, but then eventually the child gets handed off one time too many and off the books completely, and then sold outright like some just item on a black market. And then there's no record, and people murder these children or torture them to death. And it's evil. And they are going to pay one day for what they've done to the children. They're going to face their creator, have to answer some very hard questions about it, and they're going to pay for it. But meanwhile, we have to stand up for the little ones, because this has become an industrial scale abuse, crime spree. It's very sick, and it's beneath us, I'd like to think, especially here in the United States, but it's fact. And so educating each other on it is a huge step, alerting the populace to it, and then finding ways to combat it, including educating the little children in elementary school on how not to become a victim of predators, instead of how to become normalized, how to become numb to it, learning about all manner of perversion in kindergarten, first and second grade, when their minds aren't ready to start exploring any of that. We have to protect them instead and empower them instead with the knowledge of how the predators stalk them, groom them, and prepare them and set them up to be easy victims. So the children deserve our protection.
You said something really interesting about grooming. So I think a lot of times when people hear about these child abuse scenarios, it sounds very far away, either overseas or because the borders or the elite. It sounds like something that's not personally affecting you, therefore they're not immediately aware of it or care about it as much. But when you talk about grooming, I've heard you say on different interviews, a lot of these pedophile type people or people who want to prey on children, they'll put themselves in positions of power and trust in order to have unsupervised access to the kids. They have that gained trust. The parents and the kids, they're taught to respect them. But can you talk a little bit more about how a predator might groom children? Because I think that's something that hits a lot closer to home for schools, for churches, and for scenarios where kids are with a caretaker.
Yeah, well, predators do seek out positions of access, particularly unsupervised positions of access, and they abuse those positions of authority and trust. We used to trust our scout leaders and our priests and our Sunday school teachers and our coaches. And now these people, these evil people, have ruined it because they have abused those positions and others of unsupervised access. So now we have to trust but verify. We have to make sure there's some sort of eyes on the children so the children are looked after. I think the manner, the techniques for grooming are really only limited to the dark imagination of the individual predators. But generally speaking, what they're trying to do is break down the victim's defenses. A child doesn't have the natural desire to engage in anything sexual with adults. It's foreign and it's abnormal to them. And I think it's probably instinctive for very good and healthy reason. They're not psychologically wired that way because their bodies are not ready for it. Their minds are not developed and they're not motivated toward that until, more like puberty, people start, telling dirty jokes and then looking at the, magazines in the garbage or whatever you hear the boys talk about. And when people start learning about this, but it's usually not kindergarten, first, second, third grade. Right. So
yeah,
the predator really is just trying to, in most cases, break down the child's natural defense, their objections and their resistance to partaking in that type of activity and that type of behavior. It's upsetting for a child. The predator is just trying to beat the child down, scare the child or threaten the child or just tire the child out like a used car salesman and just keep them there all day. And, week after week, just talk to them and keep trying to overcome their objections and subject them to more and more perverse sexual thoughts and images and that kind of thing. They're trying to defile the child, which is what the Bible says, thou shalt not do. The scripture about the millstone speaks specifically on defiling the child. And the defiling means to pervert and poison their little mind, to take away their innocence and poison them with this sexual perversion and ruin their normal life's trajectory. And the more extreme cases where there's extreme psychological abuse, where the torment and the screaming and the child is just terrified and horrified, that there's a lot of brain damage, psychological trauma that they a lot of times never recover from. And so that's obviously wrecking their life's path, what their life could have and should have been. It's the worst kind of evil I can think of. I mean, I spent my life in counterterrorism, and I think the terrorists that plan to blow up innocent civilians, they deserve to be shot in the face. I think that's just. I think that's how any normal nation deserves to defend themselves, as long as your intel is rock solid and they're absolute hardcore terrorists and they're just going to come blow up innocent people. I think that's one form of defense that I subscribe to. A lot of people are not used to that. But another type of terrorism is terrorizing a little child that's not able to defend themselves, and their little minds are so innocent and they just don't understand why anybody would be mean to them, let alone torment them, and just the cruelty and the callous sociopathic behavior that's involved in a lot of this. And even with the satanic ritual abuse on the darkest lowest,
Yeah.
scummiest end of it. They do abuse the children in that way. So, you know, I like to say that it's beneath us, but apparently with some of these bottom dwellers and these satanic cults, they believe that defiling God's most precious and innocent children is somehow what they're supposed to do. And I just can't imagine the mindset, the logic chip in that brain that says, oh yeah, I'll take this innocent little child who's done nothing wrong and doesn't understand. I'll just absolutely destroy them. And somehow something good will come from it for me. I mean, that's what they believe. And I don't understand how they get there.
Yeah.
You know, some people that study those cults extensively may think I'm naive for saying that, but
yeah,
I do understand that's their culture, and they're into that cult, and they literally worship evil, and that's what they mean to do. I get that aspect of it, but I'm just saying, if they just sat back and took an honest look at it, looked in the mirror and go, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
What do I really expect to happen once this all plays out? I just don't see how they miss the obvious on that. And I just would like to see it stop, man. So all I'm trying to do is alert the populace and counter this thing as much as I can, so that our culture becomes one that's protective of children now. It used to be. We used to protect children so much more, and we've been beaten into the mind your own business culture now.
Yeah.
And that's dangerous. You know, I think children are pretty much everybody's business. If it looks like they're being harmed or abused, there's a right way to intervene and ask questions.
Right.
But I think we need to start being on the lookout.
Definitely. I think what is powerful too is, with your background, you know, military, law enforcement, you know, I did 16 years in the Marines. It's so tactical by normalizing this for our kids. They're using this brainwashing, making it normal for everyone to accept it, you know, from the music to their cartoons, social media. You don't hear much of this is what's going on. Sex trafficking, abuse. You don't hear that. But you can turn on and hear rap music, or you can hear music, or you can see cartoons, or you can see these new movies that are coming out. It's normal now. It's accepted. And it's just disgusting.
There's a globalist agenda. I mean, the people that wield the most power globally, we're talking about the major players that move trillions of dollars around the globe, about $500 trillion in all. We're talking about families that are global bankers. They wield the most power. They subscribe to a single system, that there's one global system, and eventually it's all on the same currency and all under the same model. And that model happens to be a Marxist model. And that's why, you know, having been in the Marine Corps, you'll recognize all the communist tactics that they're using. It's that they're literally going by the communist playbook. Yuri Bezmenov warned us about that in the 70s and the 80s. He did a series of very powerful lectures, and the communist list of what they meant to do to take over the United States was read before Congress in 1962. So we have no excuse for not knowing what the struggle for power is. And the people that are bringing that agenda, they mean to normalize this. So they've spent generations, well, at least since the late 50s in the United States, buying up all of the academic institutions, buying up all the mainstream news media outlets, and buying up all the major studios in Hollywood, and making sure that all of those outlets are broadcasting that narrative, which is to normalize this type of behavior. But it doesn't matter how big it is, or how much money is behind it, or how much horsepower is behind it. We, the people, understand that it's evil and that it's destructive, and we must not ever take a knee to it. We must not ever bow down to this. Yeah. Otherwise, who are we? If you can't stand up for a child, you're no warrior, right? So I applaud warriors like you, Ryno, that'll stand up next to me, because there are a lot of them very brave in physical confrontation. But as far as taking a moral stand for what's right and standing up for the children, I'm disappointed to see how many won't do it.
Yeah.
They can't be bothered by saying raping children is bad and it will never be normalized and it's not okay. They can't be made to do that. They'll just they sit back in silence. And I'm stunned by the inaction and the lack of moral courage by our veterans. Yes. So many of them are absolute heroes. They have risked everything and given their health. And a lot of them are buried in Arlington. God rest them, and all over the globe in these cemeteries. Some of them men and women of absolute moral courage, just incredible moral courage. But too many of them now in the United States have been lulled into silence and inaction. And I think guys like you and I, Ryno, need to prompt them and motivate them and charge them to stand up and speak up. What were you fighting for? What is your warriorhood worth if you won't stand up and say destroying a child is wrong? Yeah. Just because it's not politically popular right now. I don't like what's politically popular right now. Yes. And I'll never take a knee to it. I think slavery is bad. Yeah. And I think harming children is bad. You know, I like freedom and liberty. I grew up under a father who was a very sincere and devout pastor of a church. I watched him genuinely help people and change their lives in so many ways. And that really calls to me. And I know the book that he studied, the Holy Bible, there's a lot of wisdom there and a lot of principles on just basic human decency and just code of conduct, moral decency, just a playbook of here are the things that won't get you into trouble, right? Stay out of all the drug addiction and the lying and the cheating and the stealing and all the things that we know lead to destruction. You know, those things make sense. It's not to keep people from having fun. It's to keep people from destroying themselves and others, you know, and it seems like other people, like they don't want to pay attention to that. They want to reinvent the wheel and reimagine everything. And they're getting in all kinds of trouble and everything they do fails. And they can't figure out why. Well, because they're ignoring thousands of years of wisdom, divinely inspired wisdom. So, man, wisdom is understanding how things work.
Craig, I want to take this opportunity to introduce you to our platform. We are supported by a lot of athletes. We have veterans, first responders, and we have such a unique platform where it's one common ground, where we put aside all our views, but we want to have one area where we can come and just join together and do one fight and support each other. And a lot of our following don't know who's Veterans for Child Rescue are. So can you please tell us what's your mission?
Well, we alert the populace to the threat against all of our children, and knowledge is power. So in the Marine Corps, remember, we would walk around in boot camp. They're like, "Where's your knowledge?" Right? We had notebooks. that was our knowledge. They wanted to make sure we had that, right? It was empowering because that's what taught us how to be warriors. So you love your children, you empower them. We empower the populace by filming documentaries like Contraland. It took us 3 years to film Contraland, and people can watch it. It's a good faith public service alert, and it aired to 90 million households on July 25th, but you can watch it now on contralandmovie.com. It's free. It's a high quality documentary, and you will learn so much about what's going on and how to protect your children and how to get connected and so forth. So that's one way we do it. We have billboards donated to us, giant billboards in a lot of major cities, showing people the nature of the problem and how to get involved and do public speaking. And we've got NASCAR placement and social media campaigns, and every way that we can, we're trying to get the word out to empower the American populace with the knowledge that they deserve. All of our children are under threat. Doesn't matter what group you're in. There's people that want to divide Americans in every which kind of way. Folks, throw that off. We should all love each other, but we're much more alike than anybody wants to pretend like. I don't hate you, and I hope you don't hate me. So don't let anybody tell us we have to hate each other and all these different ways that they want to divide us. Divide and conquer is an old military strategy, but it's well known because it works. It's effective. Yeah. So do not let them divide us. So no matter how you identify yourself, your child is under threat from this. That's the truth. With that unites all of us. So we bring that empowering knowledge. And then we also combat the problem directly by running joint operations with federal and local law enforcement, primarily sting operations, but we've done border operations of various kinds as well. And undercover operations internationally, and we've gotten 23 child predator arrests so far with a 100% conviction rate. And we've just brought on 23 investigators from every federal agency, 20 and 30-year veterans from these federal criminal investigator agencies, and 30 analysts on our team now. So we've got a powerful investigations program. We've got new technology that hasn't even been submitted to the U.S. government yet by the inventors of that technology that want us to use it. And the only reason they're not submitting it to the government like they normally do is because when they do submit it to the government's sending it straight to China, hostile nation state, the enemy of ours, that's hacking our systems, stealing our property, threatening our nation. There's just so much corruption that a lot of our technology is in the hands of the Chinese. So these people are withholding intellectual property, their inventions, until such time as it is once again safe to submit their ideas to the government. So we're grateful and we're thankful for that technology and for our investigators and analysts. And we've got operators from the Tier 1 counterterrorist unit in both of the Tier 1 counterterrorist units and federal law enforcement and other agencies on my Viper team, which is pretty much just the high threat security team that oversees our various operations. So altogether, there's quite a bit that gets done. And we partner with different other NGOs that handle different aspects of child trafficking than we do, like removing the brands from the girls' and boys' necks that the pimps will brand them with or tattoo them.
Wow.
When they treat them like property. It's important for these rescued victims to have that brand removed from them. They're not anybody's property anymore. Wow. Never should have been treated that way in the first place. So there's equine therapy for aftercare and education and prevention, and another one that does training for the other NGOs that work internationally and do the soft rescues in the bars and brothels and help the girls and boys get out of the sex trade. So altogether, we kind of handle a wide scope of the problem. I just want to try to eradicate it as much as we can.
That is amazing. What you do, what your team does, everything that you stand for, it's so amazing. I take a look at it and I take a step back. That's a true hero. A hero is someone who takes on evil, and you said it yourself, it's good versus evil. And that's what it is. And I'm a firm believer of that. And what you guys stand for, your team, you guys are all heroes. You're taking this to a fight where everyone's scared of it. They shy away from it. They're afraid of the truth. And that's the part that is mind blowing, is the fact that the truth's right in front of you. You do a little bit of research. If you're not ready for it, it could scare you. And it's discouraging. It can be so discouraging at times.
Well, it's a darker, more depraved abuse than even what most military men are used to seeing or hearing about. And it's just very upsetting. It's a repulsive topic. But if we recoil and turn away as warriors, veterans, where does that leave the children?
Yes.
I encourage people to empathize a little bit more and imagine it's you now in that dog kennel, and you're the child that's only going to come out of that dog kennel when someone's going to rape you and then be put back in until the next person comes to rape you. Wouldn't you hope and pray somebody was coming for you and somebody was working on the problem to counter this massive push to normalize this and call this okay? And so I think all of us need to relate to that and realize, man, the children are worthy. It's the least we can do to pitch in a little bit of something any way we can, whether it's spreading the word or contacting people or writing your elected officials and demanding stronger enforcement against these predators and stronger penalties for it and stronger protections for the children, or handing out flyers or just teaching your children. There's always something that each of us can do. We appreciate everybody that stands up and says, you know what, I'm not okay with this and I'm ready to do a little something too.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There are so many reasons that we feel like we can't not take action. We can't remain silent about this. And even though not everyone can relate to the kind of horrors that we're talking about, it's so important for us to relate it to people so that they can understand that this is happening. Like it or not, face it or not, this is happening all around us. And there is something you can do. And to your point, if you choose to ignore it, you're not only choosing to abandon those children and those victims, you're choosing to allow it to continue. So I was born and raised in third world countries, and I've actually experienced and survived a lot of the horrible things we're talking about right now. So this reality to me, it hits very close to home in a lot of ways. I felt so called about a year ago when a lot of this stuff started coming up in the news and in different places online. It started becoming sort of not trending, but more aware to the public knowledge. But what was horrific is that people discounted as some kind of political opinion or something that's happening far away. So, oh yeah, that's in Asia, but that's not really affecting us. So although we don't want to scare anyone into action, we do want to light a fire underneath them that tells them this is happening to children you know right now. And you ignoring it is allowing it to not just continue, but grow. And I mean, you can speak to this better than anyone. This isn't something that's just continuing, that's something this is increasing.
Yeah, yeah. Silence is consent. You know, the little ones are deserving. And it's not a political opinion to say that harming children is bad. My gosh, let's not let anybody trick us into that. Yeah. I agree with you 100%. There should be nothing political about this at all. Any healthy-minded human being should readily agree, and I would even step up and put it more strongly. I charge you with the responsibility to agree that destroying children is obviously not normal and good, and it can't be ever called okay. So don't allow political lines to confuse us or compromise our standards on that. It really shouldn't be a political issue whatsoever. They're God's precious and innocent little ones, and they simply deserve our love and guidance and help and mentorship and to grow and play and be children. Yeah. One day they're going to hit adulthood and they're going to have to deal with the workplace and all the all of the stress, and there's enough, coming for them in adulthood. Let's just let them get there. Let's look after them and let them have their childhood, man. That's how it's supposed to be. We're supposed to run and play.
I think part of it, we talked about culture, things like social media. I think we're all aware that the internet has opened children, made them very vulnerable, opened them to a lot of exposure, both, like you said, selling themselves and also being preyed on. But there are so many other parts of culture that not only supports this type of dynamic, where it makes it normalized and okay for adults to have inappropriate interactions with kids, but it also suppresses the victims in a way that's not only not helping, but it's not healthy for the child's mental state or for the victim's mental state. So because this situation, this topic is so taboo, so people who haven't experienced are like, oh, yikes, ew, which again leaves the victims without help and without being understood and accepted in society. So having those uncomfortable conversations with your kids, of course, age appropriate, telling them what's appropriate, what's not, and most of all, that they can and should say something. I think that's so lacking in our culture.
Yeah. Well, we're big on our children coming to us no matter what. I like what you said, because one of the things that the predators do is they threaten the children and say, oh, I'm going to tell your mommy and daddy that you did this one thing, or I'm going to hurt your mommy and daddy if you don't let me do this, whatever it is that they're after. The children are scared. A huge adult's telling them that they're going to hurt them or hurt their families, and they don't know. So I do strongly believe in the principle of telling your children, you come to mommy and daddy immediately, no matter what anybody threatened you with. If anybody says they're going to hurt us for any reason or going to hurt you if you don't do something that's wrong, come to us immediately and tell us no matter what they said. Nobody's going to hurt mommy and daddy. We'll take care of ourselves. We're worried about your health and your safety, and that is more important. So don't you ever let anybody threaten you and scare you into silence. Our family, our tribe here has to have that communication, that unbroken access of communication, or all is lost. And so I say, man, maintain that and foster that open door for all it's worth, because boy, they do. The predators do utilize that fear and threat tactic on the little ones. And it's just terrible, but it happens. And the little ones don't know that on their phone or their laptop or their Xbox games, that the other kids that they think they're playing with are actually predators, full-grown predatory adults. Yeah. They don't know about the apps and how that some of the apps geolocate them mark their spot on a map for the predator, or anywhere in the world can come figure out exactly where your child is. Imagine your child gets off the school bus, predator can be right there because he's tracking them on the phone if they're on one of those apps that's marking their location. Also, they can be sending surreptitious video without the phone's light, the camera light coming on. Some of these apps, the light won't come on, but it's videoing your child's face, or it's taking still images for the predator that your child thinks is another child their age. So they have to be made aware of these dangers. We don't want to terrorize the children and take away their childhood and their fun, but we do want them aware that, there's bad people out there. I think my dad handled it very, very well. He didn't go into graphic detail, but he told me, hey, son, when you're in a public restroom, just keep your head on a swivel for creepy men that may want to hurt you. They're sexual predators and they may be a kidnapper. So just don't be scared, son, but just have your head on a swivel. Yeah. Be aware of your surroundings. That was fantastic advice. I was never scared, but I was aware. And I think age appropriate, there's a certain level of education awareness that they need to be given. They deserve it.
Yeah, agreed. There's different aspects of the type of harm that happens to kids. Like if you were going to loosely put in two categories, there's the trafficking industry, which normally is visualized like capturing and kidnapping and, torture and abuse and that kind of prisoner or slavery type abuse. But then on the other hand, in our community, there are the predators lurking about in all the ways you just mentioned via technology in places of trust. It's a much different type of approach. It's a much more subtle, less obvious, and less threatening in the way that people overlook it because it's not as blatantly bad in their face. So I think parents being aware of both dangers and preparing their kids for both possibilities. Yeah. Like you said, in a way that doesn't scare them, but in a way that prepares them for the society they live in.
Yep. Knowledge is power. So we've loaded up our website, vetsforchildrescue.org, with a lot of knowledge on how to safeguard your children, how to identify some of these potentially harmful apps, how to get involved. And so we've tried to really make it a one-stop shop of empowerment for the people to just go to the website and learn. There's even drop-down windows on how to find and how to write your elected officials, just rally stronger representation from them for the children. So there's a lot of
you guys been pushing a lot of good information on there on your website. You guys put a lot of really good information on how to be aware and what to look for. And that's huge. How can we help you? How can our audience help you in your mission?
One of the things that we're facing here is a mass suppression of the information about this crime spree. I'm trying to alert the people to the threat. It seems like big tech is trying to put a lid on it and keep people from learning about it. So how your people can help is take things from our website, take things from our social media pages that they think are empowering and helpful, and share them as far and wide as they can. And not just share them with their friends and family, but share them with the biggest mouths, with the biggest followings that they can, the biggest public figures and rock stars. And there is no demographic that's safe from this. And I talk to adults all the time that now that they know that I've dedicated my life to exposing this and eradicating it, confide in me, hey, Craig, I was victimized when I was a child. And I'm like, oh man, it's a lot more prevalent than I had even thought. The percentages are upsetting. Sharing the word, primarily getting past the gatekeepers of suppression, like we're getting it into the end zone, getting it to the American populace and even global populace, empowering people with the knowledge. That's probably something that's everybody can do, and it's free. Of course, we always need volunteers. We need donations. We're the merchandise. You see Ryno wearing a handsome shirt over there. Yeah, brother. Yeah, and that helps us, man. That helps us run operations and arrest predators. Yeah. And people would say, well, that's just one predator. What difference does that make? Are you kidding me? The average number of children that they rape is 70. So every predator we arrest and convict and put in prison to rape no more, that's an average of 70 children that won't be raped or harmed or murdered or destroyed by that predator.
Yeah. When you're able to break that down for any audience out there, it's just mind-blowing. I don't think a lot of people understand, that kind of impact. Crazy.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, and because I feel frustrated. I want to go so big. I'm so ambitious and so heartbroken and so ticked off. I want to just press a nuke button and vaporize all this evil instantly, and I can't make that happen. And it's very frustrating to me. So I'm going as big as I can with what I have. So I appreciate those kind words, brother. We're building a powerful war machine against child abuse, and it does feel good to do it. It's an ugly topic, but it feels good to be on the right side of it and doing something about it and seeing that we're making a difference. I'm grateful that I can still do something.
Yeah.
Y'all are absolutely the heroes. I think a big part of raising awareness, raising awareness is such an overused term in so many charities because it makes people feel good, but it doesn't always do that much. With this topic, though, raising awareness, to me, I explained it to someone that it does three really important things. Raising awareness reduces the predator's ability to operate.
Boom.
Everyone's walking around an airport and on the lookout for what's happening with the kids. Are they going into restrooms and out of the restrooms with adults? Like, are they being treated fairly? Do they look like they belong with that adult? If citizens are on the alert, predators have less ability to operate. So that's huge. The second thing it does, it obviously supports and raises support for organizations like yours, which means victims have a chance of being rescued and rehabilitated because that most of them are not.
Yep.
And then the awareness factor, it puts the responsibility in our hands to do something about it. Sharing things on social media, being on the lookout when you're at an amusement park or an airport, if it's your responsibility to look after not just your children, but other people's children too. That puts the power back into people's hands. So raising awareness is a really powerful part of making a difference in this.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That's well put. That was motivating. Not everybody gets it, well, why do you just want to make a movie? Why don't you really do something instead of make a movie? Those are people that haven't done anything right for children ever.
Right.
But it allows me to explain to them. I'll tell the haters or the people that just don't understand why alerting the populace to this is such a big deal. Child trafficking in the United States is a domestic covert operation, and it's on a mass scale. It's on an industrial scale, $38 to $50 billion a year. And it's that big because it's easy for them. And it's easy for them because we don't know about it. Right. Like you were just saying, nobody's really reduced their ability to go around right under our noses and do it. So I mean, in the covert realm, in the military or intelligence community, we would say compromise the enemy's mission. In other words, to ruin it for them, to wreck their secrecy, to expose it and turn on all the lights and say, look over there, there's a sniper, everybody. He's in our country. He doesn't belong here. And then all the natives are chasing him and he's running around. And so the dynamic is reversed. The predator becomes the prey. And with 320 million Americans alerted to this vile, demonic attack on our little ones, we can reverse that dynamic real quick. So that's why alerting 320 million Americans by filming a powerful documentary, exposing it, will send a shockwave of reality and empower everybody with, whoa. Yeah, now we're going to start video. Now we're going to start writing our elected officials. We're going to start changing laws. We're going to start increasing our prosecutions. We're going to start educating the children. We're going to start talking about this in churches. We're going to take away the enemy's play field. We're going to take away their playground and their secrecy. So once you understand that, you understand how something gets eradicated, how the entire culture turns against it and becomes hostile to this predator nonsense and abuse. And so that's what I'm about. So that's why I just wanted to film a movie, is because I want to wreck the entire industry of child rape and child trafficking. And could we slow down and go one rescue at a time? Yeah. But when we arrest the predator, that's 70 children at a pop that we can effectively rescue. And another thing, in the continental United States, unless you have a power of attorney from the parents, it's kidnapping to take a child and move them. The law enforcement has to know where they are, and you have to have the warrant and the ability from law enforcement. And if they have that, they'll do the rescue. They don't need an NGO. So when I looked at this and started to see how can I make the biggest difference, I realized the people don't know. It's still a secret, hunting and selling children in the United States. So I mean to end that. I mean to destroy the secret and alert everybody to it. Take the secrecy away, compromise the enemy's operation, save all the children.
Love it.
Powerful.
So that's what we do.
That's amazing.
But we want to help.
Yeah.
Bless you guys for it.
I'm about to join the Team Viper real quick.
What's cool is on the Viper team, there are guys I've known for up to 30 years, the guys that I've operated with in different countries and different units. You know, most of them are Navy SEALs, but some are Delta operators and other BORTAC and guys that have been federal law enforcement in multiple agencies, and pretty wide mix of hard-hitting pipe hitters that really can get her done. And big chest full of medals because they've been all over the place and done all kind of things for God and country. And I'm just grateful for these long-term friendships and these brothers that are there whenever I need to call on them. Some of these guys run multiple corporations of their own, but they're like, Craig, you got an op, you need me, just let me know. Give me as much notice as you can, but I'll be there. So that's feels pretty darn good for me. Old and fat and busted up as I am, we can still make some really good things happen.
Hey, like riding a bike, you never lose those skills.
Yeah, man.
So if you don't mind me asking, what started this? How did you get involved in this? What made it your mission to do this?
I think what made it my mission was the spiritual aspect to it. I'll explain. So I've already said my dad was a spiritual leader and a pastor of a church, a strong Christian, just a beautiful soul. I mean, he did good and he treated people well and he made their lives better. And that's all he did. That's all he did his whole life. And he was powerful at it. And that was really attractive to me. And I respected him, loved him so much, man. I mean, as far as heroes in my book, he's way up here in my life because I lived with him. I watched him and my mom, and I knew he walked it 24/7. It was real for him. And when I learned about this, it was a friend of mine from near the area that I'd grown up. We'd both grown up just north of Houston. He said, Craig, the area that we'd grown up is the hottest kind of epicenter of child sex trafficking in the United States. And he started explaining it to me. But then it was more of the investigators that had done a lot of the raids and recoveries were explaining to me that this is a different type of crime at its core. And there's all different kind of child trafficking, as I mentioned. But at the darkest core, when you get under all those rancid layers of the onion, the most rancid inner core is the spiritual aspect of it. Their darkest, creepiest weirdos who are in satanic cults and they believe in torturing the children to death. And these guys said, Craig, your badge and gun really are useless against this because if you don't understand what it's about, you're really not going to have a lot of impact on it at all. It's not like the other stuff. And I understood what they meant. I didn't know all about it, but I understood the concept of the clash between good and evil. Oh, another thing that they said this, it's important that I share, this is critical. They said at this inner rancid core of it, this is the frontline clash between good and evil. The children are there, and the children are the front line, and the forces of good and evil are fighting over the children. Evil means to destroy the children. Good means to save them. And that's what this is about. It's a weird, creepy, spiritual thing. And I thought, my gosh, they taught me how to fight in so many different ways in the Marine Corps and the SEAL team and all the different schools that I'd been to and all the different ways to make war. But they didn't teach me about this. They didn't teach me about spiritual warfare. My dad knew it, and I watched him deal with it on several fronts over the years. And he was comfortable with it because he'd read the Bible so much that the Bible was his sword. Knowledge is power. And he read it extensively and was very comfortable dealing with it. I just thought when I learned about this crime spree, man, my dad wouldn't be okay with this. And he would stand up and boldly denounce it. And he would combat it in whatever way he thought he was supposed to, without regard to his own well-being or safety or comfort or anything, because that's just how dedicated he was. And that's where I realized this is my fight. I served in the Marine Corps and SEAL team and other places. And I've gone all over the world, and it was for righteous reasons. And it was genuine and sincere. And I gave a lot, I gave my health, and I'm all busted up and pretty wrecked up now. But this seems to be the most tangible, the most real, and the most needed fight that I've ever identified. It's here, it's now, and it's the ones that are in the most need. I knew that I couldn't look myself in the mirror without throwing my hat in the ring and saying, I'm in. This is my war. Otherwise, it wouldn't have punched me in the heart the way that it did. I felt like I got kicked in the gut when I learned about it. There was no turning away from me. Once I heard some of the stories of abuse and what's happening, I'm like, I can't turn away from this. I won't. So that's how it started.
Wow.
Yeah. And then our daughter was taken. We started filing the paperwork to found the organization, and then our daughter was taken at knife point and abused and raped all night long. We got a call before the sun came up from her screaming that she'd gotten away and what had happened to her. She sounded like a wounded animal. I could hear her through the phone. And my wife was talking to her. And so I jumped on the phone, calling the sheriff's department, trying to get a vector across street from my daughter so that I could get sheriff's department to intervene and strong point her to make her safe until I could get there in case they could get to her location en route home sooner than I could. Yeah, it was a busy few moments there until we got her home. But come to find out, she wasn't stopping for any red lights or anything. She was literally just in a complete panic, like in an action movie or something. She just smoking straight home so that they didn't get to her before she got home. But by the time she got to our house, we did have sheriff's department reps there, deputies there. So we got her back, but so many people don't. So that was just kind of like a confirmation. We felt like that was evil kind of biting back at us for daring to throw our hat into the ring. But all that did was just strengthen our resolve. It just hardened us. We're not ones to quit or back down. All it did was tick us off and that much more. So within 30 days of that, our paperwork came in and Veterans for Child Rescue was official. So I'm like, okay, evil, it's on now. Now it's on. So we're bringing it. We're asking the big man upstairs to bring in that fire support, man. We're calling my prayers now. So my radio calls now are prayer. It looks like this, God, send it, bring it. Things work a little bit differently, but it's just as real. So I'm learning as a warrior how to fight in a different way. It's all warfare. It's all good and evil. It's just a different aspect of how to deal with it, that we're not taught in the Marine Corps and the SEAL team. Humans are spiritual beings. Most of them realize it. Some don't. We have a creator, and when we're not tuned in, things don't really go well.
We just appreciate this opportunity, to be part of your fight, be part of your mission. I'm not too sure if you remember how that Save the Children came out, and it was just, it just took this wave of everybody became aware and everybody wanted to spread it. And then all of a sudden it just disappeared.
Yeah. Well, we had big tech attack that and save the children. There was among the people got divided over who was behind it and who owned it. And, whether some evil billionaire bought that up, the Save the Children. And I never quite learned for sure. So we decided we're going to go with Save Our Children.
Yeah.
We'll just cut through the confusion, Save Our Children. So I started the t-shirts and, there were a lot of public figures in California stepping up to the Save Our Children program and campaign and merchandise. And we started the hashtag Save Our Children and it was going viral, and Facebook and Instagram banned Save Our Children. They did not say why.
That hashtag is not alive on Facebook or Instagram.
Yeah, the hashtag does not exist there. They deleted pages. There was nothing political spoken. It was just simply Save Our Children and let's make the world a better place for children and buy the t-shirts. And boy, Facebook and Instagram attacked that campaign like nothing I've ever seen. And I got the creeps when I saw how overboard they went and how destructive with no good explanation. It seems like there's no adult supervision at those platforms because they just delete things. if they want to, and they don't have to justify it.
They took down the Veterans for Child Rescue Instagram page, right? I think in November.
They did. So. Yep. They deleted it.
Yeah,
They've deleted either 3 or 4 of my Instagram accounts. So about 60,000 followers in all, with no explanation. They didn't even say that I had made any mistakes or anything. Eventually, after several months, I wrote them like you would with a federal criminal investigation. I wrote out the factual evidence of what took place, and I gave them the information that they needed to demonstrate that in a court of law and win. I'm like, here's what factually happened. Here is the proof. And I sent it to them snail mail, registered mail. They had to sign for it to receive it at Instagram headquarters. Nobody ever addressed it. Nobody ever fixed it. That's why I say it doesn't seem like there's any adult supervision at those platforms. In an education course, went and visited all those big tech platforms. They have a weird culture in those corporations, man. There's some real weird people running them.
Wow.
Some really extremists that don't like what America's about. But anyway, after that, I finally started a new account. And I got up to like 5,000 followers, and someone else started another account pretending to be me. And they only had been up for several days, and they had only 5 or 10 followers. And I would report that as a fake account. Instagram would delete mine. 5,000, I'd been there for several months, and with all my personal information, they would delete mine again. So they did that like 2 or 3 more times. Like, what is wrong with this platform? This is ridiculous.
They have the obvious ability to censor, but then child pornography and things that are harmful are just out there.
Yeah. It shows you that they're not motivated to safeguard the children. And that's disturbing. That's very disappointing. So we got to be careful, but we have to know who's who. People do have agendas. You got to understand the game board you're on, right? It is what it is. If you mean to do good, you have to understand the nature of the territory.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is good versus evil. The spiritual battle of dark and light, or good versus evil, it really does come down to it. So, an advantage that I have is that I do understand the mind of the predator. I do know that evil, and I do know what they're after. And in a word, it's power, right?
Yeah.
It makes them very weak, because any adult that preys on a child, they get that sensation of power from someone so vulnerable. So they're obviously weak pieces of shit. But understanding and knowing your enemy helps you know how to overcome them. And one of the things that I feel very mission driven about personally is connecting the dots between the public's understanding and how to avoid and attack the evil. Because I feel like you need both. What you guys are doing, I'm not the boots on the ground type tactical operator, right? That's all you guys. But finding the enemy, taking them down, but also arming the public with the awareness, with the knowledge, with how to talk to kids, with how to protect kids. Those are very powerful components that aren't being done on a mass scale. So there's a lot to be done. There's a lot that we need to build an army for.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think there's anything more satisfying to do than step up and defend the little ones. And I like that you use the word, the sensation of power. It gives the creepy predator the sensation of power. It's not power. It's abuse of a privilege. To even talk to a child is a privilege. It's a blessing. It's an opportunity, and they're ruining it, and they're wasting it, and they're abusing that privilege. And it gives them the sensation of power, but that's a false sensation. And just like everything else on the evil side, it's all fake. It's all tinsel, and there's nothing real to it. And at the end, the only damage and harm and devastation comes from it. So to give of yourself and help the little ones is a blessing. So if you want empowerment, I would say to anybody, if you're thinking about harming a child, try helping them instead. What I do every day, as ugly as the fight is, I feel good about what I'm doing. Tomorrow's promised to no man, and I'm not worried about dying, because when I die, I feel pretty confident about the conversation I'm going to have with my creator. I'm not expecting him to say, man, you were perfect down there. I know better than that, right? But I do think I do feel confident he's going to go, man, you put it out down there. I put that on your heart about the kids, and you ran with the ball pretty good, kid. And doing the right thing is something that everybody can do to some extent, man. I don't want to sound like I'm preaching or like I'm better than anybody else or I have everything figured out. I'm just saying I do know that helping children is a good thing. And I do know that harming children is a bad thing. I'd like to be as much a part of that change culturally across the world and starting with the United States as I can. So,
yes.
Thank you guys again for what you do, for real. It's amazing to see Americans stand up and take responsibility for that kind of evil that you don't have a responsibility for, but you take responsibility to fix it.
Yeah. And, and we're in an epidemic, but this is the true epidemic. Selling children for rape and murder and torture is the fastest growing criminal enterprise on earth. It's bigger than the sale of international arms. People used to say Adnan Khashoggi was the most wealthy man on earth. Well, he was an international arms dealer.
Yeah.
Crooked one. So now bigger than that is child trafficking. And the only thing bigger on the black market is narcotics still. And we think child sex trafficking is surpassing that, if not already. It's hard to know for sure because this is such a dark and depraved and wicked crime spree and despicable that they dare not let anybody know what they're doing and they dare not get caught. So it's very, very hard to track the numbers, but it's bad. And so why are we experiencing an epidemic of this? Well, obviously there's a problem in our culture that we've allowed this. Shame on we, the American people, for turning a blind eye collectively. I'm not talking about individually, but collectively, to allow the fastest growing criminal enterprise on earth to be destroying our own offspring. Yeah. Shame on us all, but what an opportunity now, right?
Yes.
A flood's a bad thing, but a flood's an opportunity to go around and get your boat out and go help people. You know, exactly. So if we got a crisis, it's also an opportunity to do good. So crisis is in a time when the strong step up and help the weak. It's an opportunity. So let's all take this opportunity and make the most of it.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much for everything that you've shared with us, shared with our platform. I am a true believer that you've opened a lot of eyes. You know, just this short time that we shared on this conversation, on this phone call, I am sure that a lot of people who's going to tune in, the powerful message, being able to change them and open those eyes is amazing. Good. And I believe it's happening. It's going to happen. And we're excited.
Well, that's encouraging. I'm always glad when it resonates, and I hope that it does. I learn a lot of times people will say, yeah, well, I've watched you on social media. I just don't post. I'm like, well, my gosh, I'm out there fighting for my life sometimes. I'm trying to get the word out. I could really use you to post and say, hey, I agree, or that's good, or just put a smiley face, or, you know, so maybe more people watching your platform will start to engage with your content a little bit more, and maybe with ours a little bit more, because it's a good thing. That's an action too. That's a type of help, because it's a momentum thing. When you can build a tidal wave, just like with Save Our Children. Save Our Children went viral, man. It was great until evil decided to step up and kill it. Just because they killed one ad campaign doesn't mean we can't recreate new ones. You know?
Yeah. Become a virus. Take over.
The children are worthy. That's the bottom line. I mean, are they not? We can all be heroes. People say, you're a hero sometimes. And I'm like, well, hold on now. I'm just a busted up veteran doing what I can. But if you like what I'm doing, if you're going to say kind things about what I'm doing, it's available for you too, everybody. Yeah. It's not on me. I mean, yeah, I got a broken heart for it. I can't turn away. So yeah, I'm going to fight, but so can you. And you don't have to fight in the same way that I do. You can write your elected officials. You could call them. You could tell them what you demand, or you're going to vote them out if they don't help on this front. Make a painting about beautiful little children and sell it and donate it to an organization that's doing good. There's so many ways that we can each do something. We can all be heroes, and the children are worthy of our efforts on that front. So if you're someone that you said, hey, man, I never got a chance to be a hero in my life, you have a chance now. I'm telling you right now, here's your chance. Yeah. Pick up the ball, run with it. You won't be sorry. No matter what positive effort you make for the children, you won't be sorry. And I believe you will be rewarded. I do believe it. I believe
It's
it.
powerful, powerful, powerful stuff.
So we believe in taking action. So if you could tell our audience, parents or just people watching, if there were 2 to 3 actionable things that people could do right now to protect their kids or to make a difference, what would those things be?
Well, number one, teach your kid that predators are going to trick them and condition them to go along with what the predator wants. Tell them to come to mommy and daddy at the earliest possible juncture. And another thing is take their phones and plug them in to your master bedroom at night where your children can't be on them talking to predators when a lot of them get in the most trouble. So that's something you can do. And then you can go to Vets for Child Rescue and learn a lot more. There's a wealth of empowering information there on harmful apps and all that kinds of thing. And I would say write your elected officials and call them because they're the ones that make the decisions for us. They represent us. We need to make them know what it is that we want. We need to get loud. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. So man, the children need a lot of grease. So let's be the squeaky wheel, man. Let's light up these sleepy elected officials that are soft on child predators, and let's turn this boat around, man. Let's force them to safeguard the children a lot more effectively and powerfully, or let's vote them out and put someone else in there who will, regardless of which party. Knowledge is power, man. Empower the little ones and everybody you care about too. So thank you guys for taking on this topic and exposing the issue and talking about the nature of it and talking about solutions. Bless you guys sincerely, Ryno and Kim, both of you.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate your moral courage and your alliance with Vets for Child Rescue. We're proud of what's growing and this war machine against evil that we're building. You know, what better war machine is there than one that's just for the children, the most precious and innocent?
Definitely.
So
That's so amazing.
it's an honorable thing, and we appreciate you guys standing up next to us, man.
Always.
And if you start to become a threat, you'll know it because you'll start taking flack when you're over the target. The little trolls will start attacking. The little demons will start going, yeah.
That's going to be a new page to the book as we take this on, because everyone seems like they're silent, so they're afraid to support it because of the backlash or what they have to take on.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm excited for it because nobody wants to do it. It seems like everybody's afraid of it. You know, everybody's afraid to speak about it. You know, even just mentioning, you know, sex trafficking or child abuse, those topics, like what Kim was saying, it's so taboo. No, we don't talk about that. Why not? You know, why don't we talk about it?
Yeah.
You know, we want to be a part of this. We want to be part of the mission. We want to be part of the success of the mission, you know, to help grow, get this out there. Nobody's comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
Everybody's afraid of it. It's crazy.
Yeah. Look, you know, in the Marine Corps, if somebody's not covering a certain sector of fire needs to be covered, you try to jump in there and fill the gap, right? You know, pick up the fire over there. And that's what you're doing now. In this fight, you see that a lot of people aren't stepping up, and you are. You know, leadership is contagious. When people see us standing up and laughing in the face of, you know, you say people are worried about the backlash. I'm laughing at the people that are lashing back at me. And once they realize that they don't intimidate you, you take their power from them. They're not going to stop me. You know, it's like little demons biting at your heels. It's not going to stop you. It's just meant to annoy you. You know, they don't have the power to stop you. All they can do is complain and fuss the whole time. So once you realize that's their place and your place is the overcomer, then that's pretty not only empowering and liberating, but it's infectious. Other people decide they want to step up too. So I fully expect, brother, there'll be guys, men and women standing up around you and following your leadership on this front too. And we'll build a righteous army here.
That's awesome.
We'll do a lot of good and change some things.
I'm excited. I'm excited with the fact that we get to partner with you. And I am excited because, you know, Kim, who's my partner, she is amazing with these campaigns, getting the word out on social media. I mean, she is a social media expert. You know, we boots on the ground, we know how to be tactical and we can take the enemy head on, but she's very, very knowledgeable on how to get the message out there and how to spread the word. So that's the big thing, is being able to spread the knowledge, like you said. And I think, you know, with this dynamic team that we have here, we're going to make a lot of movement and we're going to raise a lot of eyebrows all these trolls are going to start coming out.
Yeah. Well, that's your validation. That's how you'll know you've arrived on the battlefield and that you matter, because they wouldn't waste their time trolling you if you didn't. So, and I see why you chose Kim, and she's sharp. She's hit on a lot of strong points. So she's tracking, man. She gets it, you know?
Yep.
So
she's strong.
You guys will do well. You'll do well.
Thank you.
And the shirt's killer, man. People are like, "Oh, dude, that shirt's awesome."
Those sales of those jerseys are amazing. Support, it's crazy. It was like, wow, this is. We're about to come up with some powerful pieces that's going to really get the message out there. And that's what's unique about our brand, is there's a lot of meaning behind our message. And that's what we really capitalize on. It may raise eyebrows, but it brings out that we support America. We love it.
Yeah.
We're willing to push that envelope and get that message out. This campaign that we're going to do, my brain's already thinking, and it's going to be amazing to be able to create and get this word out there and raise this awareness.
Good. Well, go get them. We're glad to have you guys as allies, man. So, and this was a great chat.
Well, thank you so much, Craig, for this opportunity. You're a true blessing. And I hope that we all see that you're the real hero out there. Your team, everyone that is out there helping you support this and putting this word out there. Knowledge is power. And thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to share your platform, to join your army, to help defeat this evil.
Right on, brother. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.